Hello, 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 and welcome to the Compass PD podcast, where we dive into evidence-based practices and research-driven strategies that empower educators and leaders to make a lasting impact. I'm Dr. Carrie Hepburn, your host, alongside my friends Brook Schueller and Amy Simpson from Spencer Community School District. Hi, Amy. Hi, Brook.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We are great.
Doing really well.
Just to give you a little bit of information about Spencer, Iowa, Spencer Community Schools is located in Spencer, Iowa, which is in the northwest corner of Iowa. They have around 10,000 residents and 2,300-ish students. I would love for both of you to just take a couple minutes and tell us who you are.
Sure. My name is Brook Schueller. I'm currently working for Spencer Community Schools. I've spent about 21 years in education. Most of those years were spent in early childhood, mostly kindergarten, but also special ed. I have my reading endorsement, lots of learning around reading and how kids learn to read. Currently, I am serving as an elementary principal, but my most recent role before this was the district literacy coach. So I continue to keep some of those literacy roles in the district. One of those is Spencer Reads, which we'll tell you about.
Yay!
And I'm Amy Simpson, and I am Brooks co-chair on the Spencer Reads Initiative here. I have a background actually in psychology and child and family services. I grew up in Spencer, spent about 15 years in the nonprofit sector, and about 6 years ago started working with Spencer Community Schools, contracted to coordinate some programs, and some of them are contracted, some of them I volunteer with. And so then when Spencer Reads started, my friend Brooke reached out and said, "Hey, we need someone to represent the parent sector, the community sector." And so that's how I came on board with this.
Well,
She's
everyone,
lucky. She has a friend like me.
those are the best friends, right,
Yeah,
Amy? Like Brooke,
that's
that
right.
just like say, this is going to be
Yeah,
fun.
this is going to be great.
And
Actually, I do think that's how I spun it.
she did, and she said it would be just a real small time commitment. And here we are, 5 years later,
Yeah.
Wow.
still going strong. So
Wow. Well, I'm really excited because at Compass PD, we've been serving several districts across the country as they develop their comprehensive literacy plans. And what we know is that a key pillar of literacy is family and community engagement. And that's exactly what Spencer Reads is, and that we're going to be talking about today. One of the things that I loved about this is my co founder, Erin, and I both were at Spencer Community Schools for working on our comprehensive literacy plans. And we heard there was a Spencer Reads meeting that night, and we got to engage and attend the meeting. And we'll talk more about that later. But it was so inspiring attending this meeting that we knew this was one of the things that districts are looking for to get their communities and their families engaged in literacy. We are finding that as we're engaging in this work, districts are really struggling with engagement declining as a whole in their school districts. So it's declining and attending events and parent involvement, and then seeing that that engagement is struggling at home too. And so what we loved about Spencer Reads was it was bringing the community in and meeting parents where they were. The purpose of our episode today is that family and community engagement is really a non-negotiable when it comes to a strong comprehensive literacy plan. And if you're not doing a comprehensive literacy plan, I would say it should be a pillar in your strategic plan as a district. So be thinking about what you're hearing today and how you can build upon it, try some of it, or incorporate like something similar. Another thing I want you to think about is how our literacy outcomes can change when schools stop trying to get the families to come to us and instead we start meeting families where they are. So Amy and Brooke are going to talk about some really great ideas of things that they're doing that aren't asking the school to do more, but ways that they're getting out into what's already happening. So be listening for those kinds of things. Another thing that I think is really important is everything's super expensive. Literacy budgets in elementary will destroy your entire curriculum budget year after year after year. And so when we're working with organizations, we have a lot of other content we have to teach and things that we're responsible for. So when I learned about Spencer Reads, there is minimal expense. And I want you to know that really our goal is literacy to become something that the communities rally around and not something that just happens inside the school and your school walls. And Spencer Reads does this really well. So I'm going to stop talking and we're shifting gears for the next however long it takes us because I think this is important. And we're going to hear from Amy and Brooke. So let's get started. What did you notice about Spencer Reads that immediately stood out as different from typical family engagement efforts? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, sure. So like other districts, just what you're talking about, and this still happens. Like when we have events inside our school walls, we're often a little disappointed about the number that came, or even the clientele that came, like who we were trying to reach. We just weren't getting those people to come to school, even when we up our game and we offer, food and meals.
Mhm.
We just weren't getting the people that we wanted the most. So we have, we've had this huge moonshot goal kind of post COVID about, after looking at the lowest scores that we've ever seen, like many other districts, but we set a moonshot goal that we were going to get back and 85% of our third graders reading at a proficiency level, and then some goals beyond that as well. And
Mhm.
it can be overwhelming when you feel like you aren't getting the people that you're trying to target and how you're going to cover that big deficit in their reading scores without contacting those families and being engaged with them. So we decided basically that it didn't have to be solely on us and that we needed to make this a community effort. And so then this was not Spencer Reads with the name, but the idea was come up with by our superintendent, Terry Heeman. He wanted to embed it in the community. And so we just decided that we were going to get together with some people in our community that have a big impact on kids, especially like where are kids at when they're not at school? They're at the YMCA, they're at the Spencer Pool, they are in parks and soccer and baseball, and the public library we wanted to highlight. So we invited many people from various businesses and organizations to see how we could sort of start a trend of reading in the community. And that's how Spencer Reads was born.
We knew that it needed to be more than within the buildings of our school district, and even just expanding to those households, to those families, because that was the frustration. The parents that we wanted engaged were really difficult to engage. And so then we thought, let's get bigger and let's make it a community event, a community initiative. And so who are the movers and shakers that we can connect with to really kind of get the champions involved to make some change? And that was kind of where we started. Who we needed at the table. And that was, you talk about expense. There was no cost. It was just, let's think about who might be passionate, who might be helpful, who might know who we need to connect with. We didn't have to have all the answers. We just needed to connect with the right people. And we had a pretty small group initially, but it grew. But that was really it. And that was just, let's just value what they have to say. Let's tell them what we want to achieve and what we hope they could bring to the table, and invite them. And let's just start and see what we can do.
Yeah. Another cool thing that happened kind of accidentally through Spencer Reads is adults in the community started talking about reading too. So I think that was a good influencer in Spencer Reads as adults started to share reading more.
Mhm.
And then our kids got to see, hey, our moms and our dads are talking about books.
Mhm.
In our case, mostly moms. We had like a little text script going about Spencer reads and what we were reading, and just sort of highlighting that you're going to love reading your whole life. So,
But we kind of used a little bit of positive peer pressure with that to, as we engaged members of the business community, we asked them to participate in different ways and then post it on social media. Well, when one bank participated, the other bank was more likely to participate because
Uh,
you didn't want to be the one that didn't support this initiative in a great way. It was wonderful.
right.
And so we had like well, we'll talk a little bit about our big kickoff. I don't know, we're kind of bouncing around, but we
That's all
to
right.
to start, we got all of those people at the table and we thought, how are we going to, this has got to go out with a bang. What are we going to do? What's going
Mhm.
to be our big thing? And so our first event we called Together We Read, and we picked one day at one time, and we asked everybody, take 15 minutes. Let's all read together. That's it. No cost, no nothing, but it was a matter of we went to the local cable show and did a TV interview. We went to the radio stations and did interviews live on air with them. We went to business community partners and all of these different people, and we brought them a flyer and we said, here's what we want. We need you to help us get this word out, and then we want you to share it. And then that way, then throughout the day, as people participated and they posted their pictures, others were seeing, oh, they did that. The members at the hospital, our city hall people were doing it. We had a UPS driver who stopped on his route and took a picture of him reading
Reading a
with
book.
his truck behind him. And,
Oh,
so it was just, and that cost us $0.
mhm.
And it
zero.
was just a matter of like, let's just try to do one big inclusive event, and it included
Mm,
every student, K-12, every building, every student, every classroom, no matter if you were in PE or band or in a regular classroom, they all stopped at the exact same time and got a book out and read. So it was
mm.
a really successful way to uh, kick it off, get everything started.
Mhm.
Can I pause you right there because I want to
Yes.
name a couple things that are sticking out to me right now as you're talking.
Yeah.
One thing is you set a very audacious goal, and learning moonshot goal was new for me. Like I hadn't heard somebody use that term until I was at Spencer Community Schools. So they set this big goal, 85% of third graders. So, I mean, people right now would be like, whoa, that really is like shooting for the moon. And so you set this goal as an organization at Spencer Community Schools. It came like the leadership was bought in. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
The superintendent was like, what are we going to do? And you didn't create this goal in isolation. I know that. So for those listening, this goal wasn't created in isolation. This was done. It's just shared vision, a shared desire at Spencer Community Schools. They live it, they sleep, they eat this, they eat, sleep, and breathe this. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
They don't eat this,
Mhm.
they believe this.
Yeah.
Then you got a few people that were just committed, like, let's just be brave and name our goal out in the community. Let's like tell people. So there's something about naming it and making it transparent. Like we're going to be brave enough to say that this is what we're going to work towards together, but we can't do it alone inside our
Yeah.
schools. It's going to take all of us together. Then you did a kickoff, right? So well, that's not, before you did that, you guys were like, who are all the people? Where are all the places our kids and families are at when they're not with us? So we're going to bring those people to the table. And then together, you guys came up with this kickoff. I'm not sure if we said it explicitly, but they use a hashtag Spencer reads, and they'll probably talk about that again and again. But that's how people could find and tag that they were reading. And then you did the Together We Read for 15 minutes. What I love about this is kids and families can see, when you mention the UPS driver or a construction worker or a banker or a farmer or any walk of life, we all read. And that can be a vision for maybe somebody who's like, I'm not a good reader. I never really could read, and I do fine in life. For a kid that maybe that's kind of the message that they've heard, it was so inclusive that way. And what an inspiration. What a great way to get people sharing and talking about literacy. Something else you said, adults started talking about reading too. If kids start seeing adults highlighting what they value, they're going to follow. And so you did that really well. Just this small group of people of igniting that fire and getting that started. So, is there anything you would like add? I just had to stop and say that in like 5 minutes, you gave us all of that.
We can talk.
Yeah.
We can talk. One thing I just wanted to add, you mentioned all walks of life and being inclusive. The our kickoff event, what people were reading, like the UPS driver, he was reading some kind of a manual.
Mm,
It was work related, and same with a couple of them were a nonfiction related to their job, something that they were reading. Some
mm,
of them were a novel, one was a newspaper.
so
So,
great.
and when we went out and spoke to people about that, and when we were on the radio, we said, listen, you don't have to be a giant fictional novel reader to
Mm-mm,
participate in this. Whatever you want to read is fine. Just read, because it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a
mm-hmm.
part of your world every single day. At your job, you're going to have a manual, you're going to have paperwork, you're going to, whatever it is, it doesn't, we'd love it if it's read for fun, but
Mm-hmm.
even if it's
Right.
not, it's still part of your world. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I do think that, when we spoke back to the moonshot goal, um, sharing that out loud did create like a sense of urgency and
Mm,
and speaking to everyone like these are our kids and this is our community and we can do this together.
mm-hmm.
And so just like naming it, like you said, we sort of made Spencer Reed's like a noun. Like we
Mm-hmm.
created a
Mm,
logo, we got signs and posters made and shirts.
I
And
love those.
on the back of our shirts, it actually says, and on the kids' shirts too, it says, ask me what I'm reading. Just like creating this idea that you should be reading something. And when I ask you, I want you to be able to tell me either. I even have like some upper elementary kids that are able to tell me like, oh, I'm really into this genre, which was never
Mm,
in our repertoire of talking about books. Like right now, my daughter would say, I'm really into mystery. What book should I read next?
mm,
Um, and I don't know, just creating this like logo, this noun of, oh, Spencer Reads is going to be there, or maybe we can invite Spencer Reads.
And it's also a verb. It's all,
Yeah,
I mean, it was kind of
mm-hmm.
clever that it's like,
yeah,
yes, we do read. Also, it's a thing, and we're a group, and everybody's a part of it. There's
yeah.
a group that kind of organizes things, but really it's everybody in our school. The logo that we have, every building you go into, you're going to see Spencer Reads. There's a
Mm-hmm.
sign up, there's a banner, there's a flyer, there's homemade signs. Every visitor that comes to an event in our school building, the first thing they see when they walk into the high school building is a Spencer Reed sign.
Mm-hmm.
So the value of it being a big part of it of our district is very visible. And so then we get people that say, what does that mean? What is Spencer Reads? Is it you're saying what you do? Is it something, it did get people talking a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, so which is fun.
That
Another
is fun.
something that I've noticed since we've kicked off Spencer Reads, it's kind of like a light-hearted kind of joke, but still like brings reading to the forefront. Like if we go, for example, Amy's dad is a bus driver and he
Yes.
takes many of our teams to sporting events, sometimes all day, and other parents will be there and sometimes he'll be reading. And so
Oh,
they'll take a picture and send it to us and then say, Spencer reads. Or
oh,
like our own kids will see a friend reading at a coffee shop and they'll shout to each other, oh, Spencer reads, kind of
oh my God.
in a joking, but
Yes.
just a fun way of, oh, I told you so. Spencer reads, here we
Yeah.
are. So
Mm,
that's kind of fun.
Right. And it's just become very commonplace, which didn't happen overnight. But I think
Mm-mm.
our effort to be inclusive and
Mm-hmm.
broad in the front made that possible because
Mm,
anyone we talked to, we said, oh, you have a book club? That is so cool. When you guys meet, will you post a picture and hashtag Spencer Reads? Like, it doesn't have to be anything that we organize, but it's supporting this community effort, and we want to highlight it, and we want kids, when they go online and they search that hashtag, they're going to see, oh, there's my teacher and the school janitor and my friend's
hmm.
mom who knew they have a book club. They
Right,
It's not something they would have talked about otherwise, but then we see that where you didn't even know it was happening.
right. Well,
So
and there's another example of you're not exhausting your resources. Like
mhm.
we always talk about people, time, and money being our most important resources and valuable. And you feel like you're always exhausting those resources in
Right.
any initiative we're trying to do. Well, they're just living life. And
Yeah.
all you have to do is take a picture and hashtag Spencer Reads. That's all we're asking. So that in your day-to-day life, let's build this love, this
Yeah.
excitement, this
Yeah.
engagement. That's so smart. So
Yeah.
smart.
It's really
Uh,
fun.
how did you find that you could shift the mindset of how do we increase attendance at school or at our events to how do we build connection and excitement around literacy? What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, we decided that, like a lot of things that are changing and evolving in education, so is the way
Mm,
that we connect with families. So we decided that instead of expecting people to come to us, we were just going to do like a survey of the land. Like, where are our kids when they're
mm,
not with us? Where are families when it's not during the school day? What kinds of things can we be present at that they will already be there?
We talked a lot about resources already, and that where is it's difficult because we learned very early on. We thought we were going to plan all of these things, and we put all this time, and we did, and we'd plan a big event, and we were all excited, and very few people would come. And
oh,
so then you have the frustration and the disappointment with that. We realized really quickly, instead of recreating the wheel, how do we go to them? Where are they already going to be? How can we jump on something that's already happening and meet those families there? And that goes back to, being mindful of the resources that it takes and where we're putting our energy.
And also, we just sort of listened to, like, teachers have good insight on where the kids are that they work with. So, like, our
mm,
EL teachers, for example, were like, our kids are not going to come to the events. Transportation is an issue.
mm,
Working hours are an issue for families to get to these events. And so we work together with them, especially with the EL population. We've had some EL specific nights that we have joined. We have just provided books for those families based on, and when I say provided, I'm talking like we did like a community book drive, and people were very generous with books that have been just sitting on shelves at home that their kids are no longer reading. And we just make sure that all kids have books on their shelves at home to have access
mhm,
to. We have tried to really highlight our public library in all events that we have and invite them to other events in the community just so people can get signed up for a library card and they understand
mhm,
what that means. It's a free resource, especially for those families that aren't regular visitors. Like, what does that mean? What can I access?
Mhm.
It's way more than books, they find out. It's a
mhm,
lot of great learning opportunities. How do I access books online through the public library? That has been a popular thing. We have our public library. I think most public libraries in Iowa have the Libby app
mhm,
available.
I think so. Yeah.
mhm,
And just sort of being a constant everywhere in the community rather than an isolated event a couple times a year.
Mhm.
Um,
And the community events that are already occurring, we just kind of jumped on and called whoever the coordinator of that is, or in some cases they reached out to us and said, hey, we
mhm,
have this coming up. This is our annual There's an event called Family Fest. We have a big fair in the fall. We have in the start of the Christmas season, we have an event called Grand Meander. Like there are different community events that we just said, can we add something to this? Can we add a little reading activity? And it might be a story time. It might be a book giveaway. It might do something very simple. Again, no cost needed to do it. And we just organized a couple of volunteers to jump in and handle that night. And so if there's a family event in town, there's probably Spencer Reads something there. We try hard to be present at any of the places that they're going to be.
Let's talk about what impact did you see, not just academically, but emotionally and socially on the students and the families of Spencer community?
Yeah, speaking of emotionally, mostly, one of the ways that we try to connect readers in our community is connecting our elementary kids with our high schoolers. And so we have grade alike elementaries. So preschool through kindergarten isn't one elementary, first and second is another. And sometimes I think if you don't have kids that have older siblings or are involved in activities at the high school, our elementary kids don't even realize that those high schoolers are Spencer Tigers too. And so we have highlighted a few grade levels, first grade, second grade, and third grade, do an event once a year where they go to the high school, and like in the fall, they go to the football field. In the winter, they go to our field house. And then in the spring, they go to the baseball diamonds. And all Spencer High School students that are involved in any activity, we call it on the ball readers, but it's really all activities, fine arts, the whatever sport is going on that particular season, all those high schoolers can sign up, and they partner with a small group of elementary kids, talk to them about like how old they are, who their teacher was when they're in elementary,
what activities they do, what was their favorite book as a kid.
Yep. And then our public library supplies hundreds of books, and then we just read together and sort of highlight the growth that kids have in our district, and that one day you'll be the high schooler reading to the elementary kids. So that has been.
And the high schoolers love it. It was, we were hopeful that they would be excited about it, but you never know. They're teenagers. You never know exactly what kind of buy-in you're going to get. And we scheduled it at the time of day that our high school calls it flex. It's kind of an open period where we're not pulling them out of an important class, but it's voluntary. They sign up to do it. And we have, the number is massive. Almost everyone that can participate chooses to. And it's just joy. It's so fun. The little kids love it. The big kids love it. And, some of those things, they look forward to it. They know, if you're a multi-season student, involved in things all year long, they ask at the end of it, when's the next one? I want to make sure I can get signed up next time.
Yeah. And parents love it too, because we always put it on our social media, and parents like to see their high schoolers reading with little students. And then the younger students' families love to see their kids at the high school too. So it gets a lot of attention usually. So that's one way that I feel like we've worked to kind of connect our readers all together across the district. We invite, not just our public school kids, but also our private schools come and participate too, because we really want this united force of together we're readers.
And our private schools locally go through middle school. And so even if they're not in our public school system as an elementary student, but when they're high schoolers, they will be. And so, it's sometimes a little bit difficult when you're working with different systems that don't always, coincide easily. But at the end of the day, they're all going to end up being Spencer Tigers. And it's back to the community piece.
Well, and that's a perfect segue into my next question is like, why do you think this resonates so deeply in your community?
Yeah, I think we kind of like we talked about with the UPS driver with his manual. We tried really hard to bring focus to students who are focusing on literacy and our good readers lead to success within our school district, lead to a healthy community, lead to the healthy business community. People want to come to town. I mean, we really did find a way to include, like some of the events that we do. Like actually tomorrow we have an event we call Firehouse Raids that's over Christmas break. We invite all families to come to the fire station. They pull all the fire engines out and
Mm,
firefighters read books to kids, and we give them some donut holes and get out of the house. They're on Christmas break. They need
right.
something to do. But I think like really simple opportunities like that are just so heartwarming, and to
Mhm.
see um, a way for cute little kids to go to the fire station and
Mhm.
be sitting on the lap of the firefighter that's reading them a story, and then they get to have tours. And it's just simple ways like that where it's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's really neat that we're doing that, and
Mhm.
it really
Mhm.
speaks to the culture in our community, which makes it a little easier for people, I think, to want to support it, because
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
it's positive on all the levels. It
Mhm.
represents our community well.
I also think that, the urgency behind some low test scores post COVID was kind of like a whoa, like that doesn't usually happen in our district. We
Mhm.
we typically have great scores, especially
Mhm.
at that time period. We've been working really hard. We have awesome teachers that are always dedicated to new learning. Our teachers have been spending so much time learning how the brain works and how kids learn to read, and changing some mind shifts that might be different from what we were taught in
Mhm.
college. Most of us are in that boat. Um,
Mhm.
We've also highlighted that reading is not easy for everyone. We've
Mhm.
partnered with just some awareness things around dyslexia. We had a program for parents one night that Spencer Reads promoted about learning to read with dyslexia.
Wow.
And so I think that sort of valued some parents that know that they have struggling readers, and that Spencer Schools is recognizing that difficulty and learning ways to help them every day,
Mm.
and that they're not alone with struggling
Mhm.
readers, even if they are a struggling reader themselves. Just sort of bringing attention to the importance of it, and that it's not easy for everyone and it might not be fun for them yet, but we're
Yeah.
here to help them kind of find something about reading that they love, whether it's a genre or a type of reading, magazines, audiobooks, even. We have really highlighted and made sure that people have access to finding ways to listen to books.
Most of the things we've done have been very low cost. One of the things we were lucky to do is this last school year, we did get a nice donation from some very generous people in town. And we were able to purchase a new book for every middle school and high school student in Spencer schools, like
Wow.
really good novels. We tapped into our resources and we curated a wonderful list of books, and they were hot topics. It was so much fun to be able to do that. So every student then, 6th through 12th grade, was able to come to we called it a pop-up bookstore, and buy a
Mhm.
book, pick a book. But a lot of those kids came in and said, I don't really read. I don't know what I
Mhm.
want. I don't really, and we had magazines, we had graphic novels, we had,
Mhm.
and to just sit and have a conversation with them and say, what movies do you like to watch? Tell me something
Mhm.
that you enjoy, and what if you try this? Here's one that I've heard this is great. I read this one. My daughter liked this
Mhm.
one, and at no risk to them because they weren't purchasing it,
Right.
and they didn't have to check it out. We were just like, just take it home,
Yep.
and so it was really, really fun to get to do that. That was kind of a big ticket activity. We don't usually get to
Yeah.
do things like that, but that one was a lot. But then thinking outside the box a little bit for some of those kids.
Mhm.
Our really avid readers were really funny too with that, because they figured out we had several of them were series, and every book in
Yeah.
the series, they got really smart and they worked with their friends, and you pick book one, I'll pick two, you pick three, and then we've got the
Right.
series. And they
Mhm.
were pretty clever figuring
Yeah.
out ways to or they would text their friend and say, "Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for book three. I just got it," and they were
Oh,
so excited. So it was really fun, a simple way to bring some joy to some of
mhm,
those kids.
Yeah, we found
mhm,
that it's easier to be present in elementary schools, like
mhm,
thinking of ideas of embedding reading there. So that was
mhm,
one way when we realized it's harder in secondary to
mhm.
to to kind of highlight reading like that. So the pop-up bookstore was something that we did get a donation for.
Get it.
But
Yep.
also, we this is our second year offering. Our foundation through the school
Mhm.
has provided a scholarship on behalf of Spencer Reads, where we kind of created a buzz about, okay, if I have a library card and reading has had an impact on my life and I can tell someone about that impact, I can apply for a college scholarship, a Spencer
Yeah.
Reads college scholarship. So that's another way that we've sort of highlighted reading in the secondary levels,
Yeah.
but we continue
Mhm.
just to kind of brainstorm ideas about engaging them
And one,
too.
one thing I really loved about that scholarship, a lot of those that they can apply for have restrictions as far as your grade point requirement or your
Right.
involvement in activities and they're ranked in certain ways. We didn't want
Mhm.
that with this. It was open
Right.
to anyone. All we wanted to know was how has reading impacted your life? If
Yes.
you're maybe not the best student and you didn't love reading, but you found a way
Mhm.
to power through and you can tell us about that, that makes you a
Mhm.
candidate for this scholarship. And so it was really
Mhm.
fun to broaden that a little bit to students that
Mhm.
maybe wouldn't have otherwise.
Our goal in this whole first section was to inspire you. I want you to see how Spencer Reed's, you know, came to life, how it had a shared vision and a goal of literacy, their moonshot goal, and how they knew that they couldn't do that in their buildings alone. And I'm going to tell you all that listen to me again and again and again and again and again. I'm just pulling some of my favorite books right now. If you've read Reader, Come Home, if you've read Reading in the Brain, if you've read, this is one of my favorite books, Revenge of the Analog. This has nothing to do with reading, but I promise it'll be really impactful. The Teaching Brain, if you've read any of these books on the multisensory teaching, the writing revolution, beyond the science of reading, like I could go on and on. Speech to print, fresh look at phonics. If you've read any of those, you know that and you know all about Scarborough's rope and all of the strands and how they fit together. We have got to find a way to build kids literacy skills because in vocabulary and background knowledge, because they're coming to us with less and less because of devices. I'm showing this. So if you're watching this, you see it. But if you're listening, you're like, what is she doing? I'm just pulling out books and this. So there is a lot of work that we're going to have to do at the schools. It's going to build up that background knowledge that kids used to have and the vocabulary that they get from actually holding a book and digging into a book. And we're seeing that same thing with the adults because we're spending so much time on these devices. We're losing, kids are losing their ability to sequence, to comprehend, to figure out like the minute details that help them figure out what the main idea or the central idea is, which leads to theme, all of this. So we've got to spend as much time as we can building connections, the literacy, the dialogue, the conversation, the actual hardcore of it. And I feel like all that you've talked with us about so far is building that connection, building that vision. It's very little technology required, with the exception of the Libby app, so that they have access to more text. Just
Mhm.
trying to get people access, access, access. Now, the conversation that I had with Amy and with Brooke regarding Spencer Reads was so inspiring. It tended to go on because we loved talking about this and we loved talking about increasing engagement with families and communities around literacy. So we had to split this original episode, into two parts. So I want to encourage you to come back and listen to the second part of this conversation, which will be episode 86. Know that we're not just ending it here. Our goal in this section of the podcast was to inspire you through story, through shared values, show you how Spencer Reed's created a joyful, welcoming, inclusive experience for not only their students, but for the community overall. I want to just share with you that their Spencer Reed's meeting was after school that Aaron and I were able to attend. It was after school. People came happy, smiling, excited. This is not something that we see in a community at an after school meeting. People were ready. They believe in this work. And so, as you consider starting something similar in your organization, I think Amy and Brooke hit the nail on the head early on that you find the right people to be at the table. And you may not have a plan. You just start creating that vision. You start to create that goal and you start to brainstorm and think like, what do we already have? And go there. And they'll talk later on about how maybe they try to have 2 events a month. That's probably too much starting out. They are 5 years into this, right? So it's like a well-oiled machine. We showed up to their meeting, they had an agenda, they were excited, they stayed on topic. We were even there to look through and read the pieces of writing that students had written for the scholarship that they talked about. And just wanting to get kids excited and want more for themselves in literacy. So I want you to walk away today like jotting down ideas and thinking about what does this look like in our community? Who might be the right people that would be at the table? What can we do to get everyone inspired when it comes to reading and writing? I want to say thank you so much, Amy and Brooke, for this time because I do believe that you're going to inspire some people and that we together can change lives and literacy for all kids. And that's really what we want. We want our communities to be filled with kids that can pick up a book and read anything they want to read. And as adults, that you can read whatever you want to read and be able to write whatever you want to write. So it doesn't have to look the same, but but we believe in opportunity and want to inspire everyone for that. So, as we wrap up today, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us on the Compass PD podcast. Remember, at Compass PD, we believe that every educator and community member has the power to inspire change and transform student learning. Stay focused, stay inspired, and keep making a difference.